Hello Internet, welcome back to Tromsø Twilight, the channel where I, Vincent, talk to you, the ever-expanding universe about books, movies, music I enjoy, find interesting, or a combination of the two. I've been wanting to see the film Hokum, actually partly so I could talk about it here, but for various reasons I had to keep putting it off. I just saw it a couple of days ago, and I would like to give just a few brief thoughts about the movie. This film is a horror movie from the Irish director Damian McCarthy, released this year. It stars Adam Scott, who you might recognise from the sitcoms The Good Place and Parks and Recreation. He's also in Severance, which I haven't seen, a kind of sci-fi thriller. He was in the opening sequence of The Monkey, and I was actually really happy to see him there because I really liked him in the sitcoms that I've seen him in, especially in Parks and Rec. Then he disappeared from The Monkey, so it was great to see him in a lead role in this film. He plays a depressive alcoholic writer with writer's block. He's trying to finish his big hit trilogy about a conquistador, and he moves from America temporarily to Ireland to stay in a hotel where he's nominally going to try to finish this book. And he's also there to scatter the ashes of his mother and his father. Right off the bat, there are obvious references to Stephen King in the frustrated alcoholic writer and the spooky hotel situation, but not just The Shining. Stephen King's characters often have a lot in common with On Bowman, the character in this movie. I'm not going to give major spoilers, but I am going to talk a little bit about the plot, and especially the initial part. He comes to this hotel and he behaves pretty poorly, but he strikes up a certain type of relationship with somebody who works there, a woman called Fiona. And then within the first act, she rescues him from an attempt that he makes on his own life. You get the sense already from his conversation with Fiona that he is struggling with some issues from his past around the fact that his mother died from a gunshot wound when he was a child. The inciting incident for the major part of the film is that Fiona then goes missing. And together with a guy called Jerry, who lives in the local forest, attempt to break into the hotel and specifically into the honeymoon suite, which is always closed because there is supposed to be a witch in there. That's as much of the story as I'm going to give away. I think that you should see the movie if you haven't seen it and you don't want to know anything else about it. It's a sort of combination of a supernatural movie, a folk horror based on Irish folklore, and a kind of psychological horror based on Bowman's own haunting in relationship to his childhood. So it has these different layers, and it has an incredibly creepy atmosphere right from the opening sequence, a sense of foreboding and also a sense of haunting. Most of what's scary in the film is achieved through the use of practical effects, makeup, but especially scenography, the use of these rooms, the use of light and shadow, lingering camera. There's just a real creepy vibe created through the use of these different visual aspects and also the score. There are jump scares, really effective jump scares, but that's not where all of the terror lies. There's just a general sense for me in this film that it's almost too much a lot of the time. It's genuinely frightening. And in this sense, it might remind you of something like Hereditary. But Hereditary really always had certain aspirations beyond its genre, I feel like. Whereas Hokum is having so much fun just being a horror film. It's not camp, but it's almost camp because it's just so much leaning into its genre, its traditions. It's slightly too scary to be camp. Thematically, it has themes of violence against women, of mental health, of trauma, and the way that the past haunts us. It also has themes about like the sort of rationalist, materialist world contra something that's more integrated into the Irish culture of, spirituality and the uncanny. It also has an aspect of this a sort of psychedelic hero's journey. Somebody's attempt to go through an ordeal in order to free themselves from what it is that's holding them down. And I like this side of the film, though there were some moments that were more surreal that I don't think necessarily it needed. I did sort of enjoy them. It's part of the kind of playfulness of this film. So Adam Scott was really good. He makes the film more frightening by underplaying his reactions a great deal of the time. He is this sort of stoic, cynical, irritated guy who is able to move through these quite horrifying situations with a very understated but still convincing set of responses, and the people playing around him were playing much broader, and that juxtaposition works very well. I think as a pure horror film, this stands up alongside recent very effective films like Weapons, for example, but it's purer in its form. It's very, very attached to its tradition, and I think there's a lot to respect, a lot to like, and a lot to enjoy about that. McCarthy is really just showing that he's an excellent horror filmmaker and he's not trying to do anything else. In a way, the joy of watching this film is like being a kid going into the ghost train or the haunted house. It wants to terrify you, it wants to creep you out, it wants to subject you to suspense, but when you come out of the other side, you won't feel injured by it. So that's my brief thoughts about Hokum. I really liked it. I thought it was great. If you've seen it, jump in the comments, let me know what you thought about it. I'll be coming back later this week after I've seen Obsession to talk about what I think of that film. I'm also going to be talking about Mark Lanigan's memoir, also set in Ireland, which is about his struggle with COVID-19. And then I'll be coming back next week to talk about disturbing songs. So if any of that interests you, please do subscribe. Like this video if you enjoyed it. If not, I don't take it personally. Have a nice life, and maybe I'll see you around anyway. Bye bye.